joining us. You are invited to address the board during the public comment portion of the agenda. However, we do ask that you sign up to do so. The online link is now closed, but if you would like to sign up, you may sign up on the form, which is right over here to my right. If you wish to speak during public comment and haven't signed up to do so, you may do so now until the start of public comment, which is item number 4 on the agenda. Board members, you have access to the board packet on the board drive. As a reminder, any board member can take anything from consent agenda to the regular board agenda. But before we vote on our regular agenda, I would like to formally welcome our newest board member, Mr. Mark Struve. Secondary teacher at NYOS. We appreciate your dedication to our students, and we thank you for extending your service to include the school board, so welcome. Next, we will approve the regular agenda for the meeting. The one adjustment I do have is taking from consent the Purpose Pediatrics Therapy to the regular agenda item, and that'll be under new business. So at this time, I will entertain a motion to accept the regular agenda as amended.
Also motion.
Hassan? Do I have a second? Ben? Okay. All in favor? Okay, unanimous vote. Motion passes. Okay, on to consent. As part of our consent agenda, we have our September minutes, committee reports, and contracts. I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda items.
I'll move that we accept the consent item.
Okay, make sure your microphones are on. Ben, motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Richard, thank you. All in favor? Okay, unanimous vote by the board, thank you. Okay, on to agenda item number 4, which is public comment. So good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here tonight. As always, we appreciate the time and commitment our community shows by participating in our meetings. Your voices matter, and this portion of the agenda gives everyone the opportunity to share their thoughts with the board. Before we begin, I'd like to review a few important expectations. This is a public meeting, not a public debate or open forum. We ask that everyone share their comments respectfully so that all voices can be heard. Outbursts, clapping, cheering, or other disruptions make it difficult for everyone to be heard and for the meeting to proceed in an orderly way. Now, to our guests, you have the right to address the board on any item on the agenda before it is considered or any other area of concern. However, due to the Texas Open Meetings Act, the board cannot deliberate or take action on items that are not on a properly posted agenda. The board chair may refer certain matters to the superintendent for review or place them on a future agenda for formal discussion. Although this is your opportunity to address the board, public comment is not a question and answer session. Those who have signed up in advance will have the opportunity to speak this evening. When you speak, please introduce yourself and describe your connection to NYOS. At this time, we have several signed up to speak. And Lisa, I believe, you have your signs. So Lisa has signs, reminder of your time. Each comment will have 2 minutes. The board listens carefully, and every comment is taken into consideration, even if we do not respond immediately tonight. Our first speaker, since we do have a lot of speakers, I'm going to say the first 3. Does that work for y'all? Okay. Our first 3 is Blair Mundy, Linda Garza, and Clint LaRue.
I'm Blair Mundy. I'm a 13-year NYOS parent. We have some major hiring issues here at NYOS right now. The first principal, Dr. Rosa, hired Natalie Blassingame, lasted only 1 day due to parent outrage. The next hire, Rory Edwards, seemed like a better fit, but she is neither certified as a teacher or a principal. For comparison, NYOS usually has very high standards for principals, as evidenced by Principal Pesta. The neighborhood schools that we all left to come to NYOS would not be legally allowed to hire her based on her lack of credentials. Charter schools are simply more vulnerable to situations like this. Her resume varies greatly according to source, and many of her claims of advanced degrees appear false or unverifiable. After she was hired as principal, NYOS very quickly hired her husband, Clark Gilchrist, as a middle school teacher working directly under her supervision. Mr. Gilchrist does not have any verifiable experience working in a classroom environment and has never been certified. This is illegal under the state of Texas and NYOS nepotism laws. Please be aware that any complaints parents may have about him go directly to his wife, as she is his manager. This fact was never disclosed to students, parents, or other teachers, likely because of its illegality. Nepotism laws also state that since Mr. Gilchrist is now known as an ineligible person, no officer here today can continue to compensate him. Speaking of conflict of interest, the required website disclosures involving Dr. C have been recently removed. Dr. C appointed Dr. Rosa to her position and profits from a professional development services his company provides to NYOS. This is a huge and now hidden conflict of interest. So what can you do? As parents, you can insist on these three things. Dr. Rosa to remove both Edwards and Gilchrist, as well as any of her other newly hired close friends or relatives. If she does not dismiss Miss Edwards and find a suitable replacement for Lauren Benoit, the board should take a vote of no confidence. Human Resources and the hiring committee need to produce for parents documentation of references, degrees, and background checks for all recently hired and future NYOS officers. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, Clint LaRue, Educational Assistant, Elementary. My values are more important than my fears. I will not watch something happen and say nothing. I will not watch this happen and say nothing. I want to start here. Dr. Rosas, you are not responsible for our current administration at a state or federal level. I have no illusion of that. I must ask, when policy says jump, why does it feel like you will only ever ask how high? Trust is hard to build and easy to lose, and this community does not trust you. I want to, but I don't know you. What do you believe? What are your goals? Where are you taking us? What happened to Benoit? What happened to McGee? What of the rest of us? I was a theater kid in high school, so forgive my affected language. I speak most comfortably with metaphors and emotions and not hard facts. I'm not trying to bring to you the case, as it were. I would like very much to bring to you the feeling bubbling underneath the skin of our district. I and others I know have been stewing in its anger and its fear, and most notably, its grief. There is no reprieve. Everywhere I look, I see this grief. In every song and show and book, and I can't bring 1,000 hours of collected media to this forum, but I did bring a poem. No man is an island entire and of itself. Each is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. If a clod be washed away by sea, Europe is the less. What now? What of our Europe? Are we closing student unions? I heard about the threats to our queer student union and have had no official confirmation one way or another. Maybe I'm looking to the wrong source. Last board meeting, I heard no. I heard we are being advised on this subject and we don't have to at this time. Now, to my understanding, it is closed. And through all of this, I have to wonder, what protection does this institution have for its marginalized faculty, its non-white faculty, immigrant faculty, non-Christian faculty, disabled faculty, queer faculty? Why have I watched so many people run? Is it time for me to run? I expect no answer at this time. I want to say thank you to those who came before us, that we remember you, and that your loss is palpable. Each man's death diminishes me, for I am involved in mankind. NYOS, they can only do what we let them do. Don't let them. Thank you.
Okay, so the next three I have on my list is Allison Azucena, Lisa Soster, and Kendra McGee.
Hello, my name is Allison. You might see me after school participating in different school sports, and I'm here to talk about the sudden and unfair loss of Miss McGee. The way she was fired was clearly, The way she was fired was completely unjust. She had clearly explained on why she couldn't meet the early arrival standard because she's a primary caretaker for her mother, and that's something that deserved understanding and compassion. What made things even more disappointing was the way after she had gotten fired, how she was treated by Miss Edwards. By Dr. Roses and another person, saying that she had to leave the premises now or else it would escalate the situation, which I think that is totally unacceptable because even though that she had gotten fired, she was still a NYOS parent, and how do we know that you guys won't treat other NYOS parents like that? Not only that, Miss McGee was someone that like students could go to if they didn't feel safe, and she would make sure that they felt safe.
Thank you. Thank you. Lisa.
Hello, I'm Lisa Soyster. I'm a parent, but I am reading on the behalf of an anonymous NYOS staff member. When I think back to the foundation of NYOS charter, I remember the shared vision that made this school special. From day one, NYOS was built on collaboration, a place where students, parents, teachers, and community members all had a seat at the table. Our board reflected that. Every decision was rooted in collaborative input, shared values, and the belief that everyone's voice mattered. That sense of partnership has made NYOS thrive. But today, it feels different. The balance of leadership and community involvement that once defined us has faded. Decisions now seem to come from the top, directly, solely by the superintendent, with limited transparency or inclusion. The collaborative nature that gave this school its strength has been replaced with an atmosphere of fear and uncertainty. Many teachers no longer feel safe expressing concerns or ideas. Some are questioning if they can continue working here under this kind of leadership. As educators, we dedicated our lives to building trust, growth, and belonging for our students, and we deserve to feel the same support within our workplace. It's not about blame, it's about restoring what made NYOS great. We need leadership that listens, collaborates, and values every voice, because when we work together, as we once did, we build not just a stronger school, but a stronger community for every student that we serve.
Thank you, Lisa.
Good evening, members of the Governing School Board. My name is Kendra McGee, and for the last 5 years, I have proudly served as the middle school assistant principal with dedication and without incident. I'm here tonight to appeal my termination and to respectfully request reinstatement to my position. The stated reason for my termination was a late duty arrival after a schedule change. I acknowledge I was not on duty at 7:30 due to a morning accident on I-35, but this wasn't negligence. It was the result of unrealistic and unsustainable expectation created by this administration without regard for my family responsibilities, which I clearly communicated. Since 2022, I have been my mother's caregiver. The previous administration worked with me to help balance that responsibility. When the schedule was changed, I requested an FMLA accommodation to help manage my caregiving duties from HR, but that request went unanswered. There were never any concerns about my arrival time until my schedule changed from 7:45 to 7:15 to 7:30 without care or consideration. In the end, I felt like I was being forced to choose between my job and my family. I chose my family, and I lost my job. But this is not just about late arrivals. It is about fairness, consistency, equity, and compassion. I was held to a different standard than others, and when I spoke up, I faced retaliation. I did not deserve to be terminated, nor be escorted off campus under public threat of escalation by the superintendent and director of operations. Protocol or not, that action was unnecessary and deeply humiliating after serving 5 years of faithful service. Service that is reflected through the overwhelming support from this community here tonight and throughout this ordeal. I ask this board to look beyond the technicality and to recognize what truly happened. a failure of equity, a failure of leadership, and a failure of compassion. Please initiate an independent investigation and restore what was unjustly taken, my job, my dignity, and trust in the leaders that I have worked alongside. But despite everything, I still want to be here. I still believe in the mission and these amazing students. My fight is not against NYOS.
Thank you,
My
Ms.
fight
McGee.
is for NYOS, for fairness, for accountability, and for what is right. Thank you.
Okay, next I have Tiffany Savener, Claudia Rosas, and Isley. Tiffany Savener, Claudia, and Isley, or? Isley, okay.
Hey, my name is Tiffany Savener, and I'm the parent of 3 NYOS students, 2 who've graduated and are now at UT, and my youngest, William, a homegrown NYOS 9th grader. Like many families, I chose NYOS because I wanted my children to grow up in an emotionally healthy environment. For years, this school was exactly that, a second home for my children where they were known, supported, and taught to be kind, responsible members of a community. The spirit of NYOS was built on compassion, integrity, and care for one another. This year has felt profoundly different. From the very start, parents and students began sharing reports of kids being confronted over things like hair color and dress in ways that felt punitive and unnecessary. It was clear that something has shifted and not for the better. The public treatment of Vice Principal Kendra McGee, which many of us have viewed as deeply humiliating, was a signal flare to this community. Ms. McGee has cared deeply for this school for years, helping students and staff recover from the trauma of COVID and serving as a mentor and guide for so many. Multiple witnesses have confirmed that she was escorted from campus in front of students, and Ms. McGee has stated that later, while sitting in her car waiting for her son to finish football practice, she was told to leave and warned that they would escalate the situation if she did not. Let me be very clear. To treat a respected mother, educator, and fellow NYOS parent in this way is not only unprofessional, it is unacceptable and completely contrary to the values that this school was built upon. How are we as parents to trust this administration? This is not the NYOS I entrusted my children to. When punitive behavior is displayed so openly, how are we to feel confident in the decisions that are made by leaders behind closed doors? People who treat students, parents, and staff this way should not be trusted with children. It is time for a change, for a leadership that restores transparency, trust, and the compassionate integrity that once defined our school.
Thank you. Claudia.
Hi, my name is Claudia, and I'm a parent of an elementary and a secondary student. Initially, I had another speech written for tonight, but what better way to express this sentiment than to read the words of those who feel silenced. So tonight, I am lending my voice, because when teachers are silenced, it's not just their voice we lose, it's the heart of the classroom. You can feel the weight of stress, the quiet hesitation, where there used to be collaboration, the spark that's slowly dimming. A school should be a place where people feel safe to speak, to grow, to belong, and not one where they walk on eggshells. This is from an anonymous staff member. When I first started teaching at NYOS, it felt like everyone was on the same team. Parents, teachers, and admin all were working together with the goal of educating the whole student. It no longer feels like that. As a teacher, I feel micromanaged, and I feel like I'm being monitored and watched all the time. I also no longer feel supported by my principals or assistant principals. A few years ago, if I went to a principal or AP with a situation or problem, I'd be told, I've got your back. I'm here for you. Let's figure this out together. Now, if I go to APs with situation or problem, I'm told, well, there isn't anything we can do, so you just need to deal with it. It feels like every man for himself, not where we're all on the same team. It's devastating. I've never seen the teacher morale so low. The constant need for testing and data is killing the joy of teaching. Instead of walking into a teacher's classroom and telling them what they are doing wrong, Start by asking teachers what they need and how you can help. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Aisley Anderson Cantu, and I'm a 7th grader at NYOS. Imagine you're a woman who walks up at 5 in the morning every morning, gets ready for work, wakes her son, feeds her mom, and prays before she walks out of that door at 7 a.m., the earliest she can leave her mom every single morning. That woman is Miss McGee. With the recent change in arrival time expectations, being fully aware of Miss McGee's time constraints, it begs the question, was she set up to fail? The woman who may not have been the first to arrive, but was always the last to leave, forced to adapt to the whim of, in my opinion, a conservative white woman already wanting her gone. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm talking about our superintendent, Dr. Roses. I went through a mental health crisis at the tail end of last school year, and Miss McGee was my greatest supporter and advocate in the school. You can ask my mom, better known as Miss K, and I bet she will tell you the exact same thing. What a sad realization it was. The day that I found out my biggest supporter and the biggest supporter of those around me was gone, only to be replaced by a new male staff member that none of us know and that we have still yet to meet. Mr. Wen, on behalf of 7th grade, we're excited to meet you soon. I'm not afraid to admit that I was the organizer of the protest last Tuesday with the help of my amazing peers, of course. Instead of being met with support from leadership, we all of our parents were threatened with the potential of unlawful truancy charges by our very own principal. And Ms. Edwards, many of us have seen your old socials from years back. We saw an amazing woman of color working with beautiful black and brown students, participating in teacher strikes and protests, letting her voice be heard. I don't know where that amazing leader went, but we sure could have used her last Tuesday, and we should really want her now. If I may, please allow me to extend a plea. Women of color to women of color, don't let white people control you, because right now, Roses is the puppet master, and I'm afraid you're being made to look like a doll in someone else's game. Thank you.
Okay. Next up, I have Peter Schaefer, Amy Hayes, and Marnika Brown.
Thank you. I wasn't aware of the circumstances behind Ms. McGee's dismissal until just tonight, and that was kind of shocking to hear that. I want to speak to my experience with Ms. McGee and her value to me and my child. I've gotten to know her well over the last 2.5 years. Sorry, I'm going to get emotional. As a parent, it's not always a good thing when you get to know your assistant principal so well, but there are reasons for that I won't go into here. Ms. McGee is a tireless worker with a never-ending job. She has the kids' best interest at heart, as well as the teachers. She takes care of her teachers too. Happy teachers make for happy students. She affectionately refers to her students as her babies. That might seem a little strange for middle school kids, but as my mom used to say, her kids will always be her kids, no matter how old they are. Her tireless efforts all come down to helping kids become productive, caring, successful members of society. All kids of all abilities, backgrounds, cultures, and experiences. Excuse me. Many is the time I've received a call or an email late into the evening, long after most reasonable folks have called it a day, where she has worked with me to address one thing or another. Despite the late hours, she takes the time to listen to me, to hear from my child's perspective, and strategize with me the best course of action going forward. It's important that these issues be discussed and strategized early, the same day, or they're less effective with the child.
That's time, thank you.
Okay, thank you. She's in a tough position. She gets caught between parents and teachers. She's got a very hard job, and she works very hard. She's an important part of NYOS, and NYOS is a part of her.
Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. Amy?
Hi, I'm Amy Hayes. I have a 9th grader who's been here since first. And I just wanted to, I'm not speaking about anything specific tonight, just kind of in general. I think most of the English teachers in the school would probably agree that the first rule of writing is to know your audience, to analyze your audience. And the reason that we send our kids to this school is because it's different, and because it values diversity, it values social emotional learning, because the teachers are supported to support our kids and their unique needs. And we don't want to spend our time fighting this administration. Our resources can be used in way better ways to support the community that has existed for a very long time already. So I would encourage Dr. Rosas, please get to know your audience before you come in and try to change a community that is beloved, that is already well established, because we want to spend our time collaborating with you on things that are important to us, things that are beneficial to our children, and we don't want to spend time monitoring and organizing protests and sending letters to the board. It's not the best use of our resources. So please work with us collaboratively to understand our needs, our children's needs, and the way this school has run for a long time and what we value about it.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Marnika Brown, and I'm a proud NYOS parent. I am a former educator and also a guest NYOS teacher. I drive an hour to NYOS every single morning for my child to be educated at this school. I pass my neighborhood school because I truly believe in this school and its mission, especially through its strong focus on social emotional learning. That was one of the main reasons why my husband and I chose NYOS for our family. We've been blessed with some amazing teachers. Our current teacher and the teacher we had last year both created caring, inclusive classrooms where students felt seen and supported. But I am increasingly concerned that those who have been serving outside of the classroom, especially in leadership and administrative roles, may not fully recognize how their decisions and actions are affecting the staff morale and overall school culture. At times, I even wonder if they realize what school they applied to work at. Lately, our elementary administration has not reflected the diverse student body that it serves. When we became a NYOS family, that was the case. It is no longer. Representation matters. It has helped to foster trust and belonging amongst this community. Today, the diversity amongst our staff and administration has drastically declined. And with it, I fear we are losing a piece of what has made this school so special.
Thank you, that's time.
I ask that the board take a closer look on how leadership decisions, hiring practices, and professional development align with the schools and its commitment to diversity, equity, and social-emotional growth.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
Our students and our teachers deserve to be supported by a system that models the values that we teach. I thank you for your time and your service to our community.
Next, I have Elizabeth Zimmerman, Mark Garcia, and Sonia Ladha. Elizabeth, Mark, and Sonia.
All right. I'm Elizabeth Zimmerman, a NYOS parent of two, 9th grader and 4th grader. NYOS was built on the idea that we want to be a high reliability school, and our elementary campus has already reached level 4. Quite the accomplishment given the rigor needed. In secondary, we are pushing to accomplish levels 1 and 2, with level 1 being a safe, supportive, and collaborative culture. Recent anonymous teacher surveys show that we are moving in the wrong direction here. The very first bullet point is that faculty and staff perceive the school environment as safe and orderly. We are witnessing quite the opposite. Here is what some of our teachers have to say. They fear retaliation. Staff members who previously took issues to HR have been fired soon after. They feel overly scrutinized and spied on, which is the exact opposite of a collaborative and safe environment. Something is deeply wrong. Staff does not trust admin, employees are afraid, and morale is the worst it's ever been. The teacher loss is devastating, a crisis even. There's limited transparency, little options for inclusion, and a high amount of, again, fear and uncertainty. Yesterday, some of us had the opportunity to discuss this with Dr. Rosa, and her responses were eye-opening. One quote especially stood out, that our staff retention is the highest it's been in the last 3 years. I personally would like to see the numbers on that. It sounds very much like last year's numbers, not what is actually happening right now. There's very obvious disconnect there. The NYOS strategic plan has a pathway with KPIs regarding staff experience. The goals are 85% retention and 94% positive sentiment. As of right now, the committee responsible for working on the 85% retention has lost 57% of their staff representatives, including both co-captains. Co-captains are gone. What is being presented to us and what's happening with the exodus of our amazing teachers simply doesn't compute.
That's time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate all of you very much.
Thank you. Mark.
Good evening. My name is Mark Garcia. I am a parent of a child at NYOS, as well as a husband to a wife who is a dyslexic teacher for secondary. I'm here as a parent with concerns about Miss Rory Edwards' hiring qualifications. I have 3 issues. First, legal compliance. The TEA requires principals to hold an active teaching certificate. Ms. Edwards' Texas certificate expired in 2018, over 7 years ago. She has served as principal since 2022 without a valid certification. She's not legally qualified to serve as a principal. Second, misrepresented credentials. Ms. Edwards claims to have a Doctor of Education degree. Her claim, Ed.D. from Arkansas State University, completed in 2024, does not appear anywhere in any dissertation database or university records. She also claims to be currently pursuing an Ed.D. Urban School Leadership at Texas Tech in a program that does not exist. She cannot have completed a degree and still be pursuing one. These claims are contradictory and unverifiable. Third, the McGee decision. Ms. McGee was trusted and valued by parents, students, and teachers. Her sudden dismissal without explanation at the time concerns families. How did someone with unverified credentials make this decision? This raises questions about judgment. I urge this board to immediately verify Ms. Edwards' teaching certificate, audit her educational credentials with Arkansas State and Texas Tech, and provide transparency about these issues. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sonia, and I'm the parent of an 8th grader who has just started her 3rd year here at NYOS. I would like to start by thanking you all for your time on the board. I appreciate that this is a volunteer position and your time is important, and the fact that you are choosing to spend it on the NYOS school board does reflect a commitment to this school and the community. I come here tonight as a concerned parent to ask that as a member of the board that you are all fully aware of how the administration is making changes that are changing the culture of the school. Over the last several months, various decisions have been made that are starting to form a trend. From the over-the-top enforcement of the school uniform, to the quick and uncertain dissolution of the Queer Students Alliance, to the controversial firing of Ms. McGee, I would like to make sure that you're all aware of how these decisions are impacting the school. And if you are aware, I need to understand if there is an intentional strategic decision to a more conservative agenda. I understand that there are always two sides to each story, and the truth usually lays somewhere in the middle. But right now, even that middle gives me pause because some really negative and concerning behavior is coming to the surface. I caution you to take into careful consideration the power and the impact of a very frustrated parent in the age of social media. This is by no means a threat, just a natural consequence of what happens when unpopular decisions continue to be made. Many of us are making intentional decisions when we decide to send our children here, especially as relates to high school. The local public schools have many more resources that we are giving up to stay at NYOS. A large part of why we stay here is the current culture. If you take that away, then what's left? So I ask you, is it worth risking the reputation of the school on something that you have the ability to change? Thank you.
Next up, I have Samantha White, Toma, and Catherine Saunders. Samantha White, Toma, and Catherine Saunders.
Hello, my name is Samantha White, and I teach geometry here at NYOS. I am terrified to be up here. I am terrified to risk my employment, and I am terrified to risk my ability to support my partner in law school when he decides to go next year, when he's ready to go. Okay, but I'm here anyway. Okay, and my statements might seem not related to what everyone's talking about, but I'll get there. Okay. For example, participation in non-NYOS students in UIL is on the agenda for later tonight. At the last meeting, I spoke to my belief in allowing the few homeschooled students that exist in our area to participate in our UIL events, and I was misquoted later in that meeting as having said the exact opposite. I was promised via email by one member of this board that a clarification would be given at this meeting, which I appreciate and I hope to hear later. However, I was also given an opportunity to discuss this matter in person with another member of the board. And at that time, I was given no apology for the mistake, and I was in fact told, well, rather implied, that the blame was on me for the actions of another person. And therefore, I have no idea what to expect from that part of the meeting later, and neither does anyone else who attended the last meeting. We were also told at that meeting that the lived experience at NYOS would not change due to SB 12, despite the fact that the text of the bill was very clear that our lived experience would be changing. And now, less than a month later, we don't have a queer student union after the board promised that such community groups would remain here, okay? I believe lawyers were mentioned in that meeting, and I would personally love to know which law firm was consulted in such an erroneous interpretation of SB 12. And I can't speak to the firing of AP McGee. I've told my students, I don't know what I don't know. But what I do know is that there are now allegations, not just rumors, that this school denied FMLA accommodations to a pillar of our community, and that has given rise to an immense amount of fear and anxiety here. At previous heavily attended meetings, and now this one, the board has said that public comment is not the same as a town hall, that this isn't the time for a back and forth, question and answer. But after this many contentious meetings, we might appreciate one.
Thank you.
Toma or are you Catherine? Yes. Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, my name is Catherine Saunders. I'm the parent of 3 NYOS students, and tonight I am reading on behalf of an anonymous staff member. We are in a critical crisis, the rapid, devastating loss of experienced, high-quality NYOS educators and staff. This exodus, voluntary or involuntary, has fractured our community and stripped away the institutional memory that made NYOS extraordinary. The impact is felt deeply, particularly among our educators, students, and staff members of color, creating an irreplaceable void. We must immediately stop accepting these losses and start protecting and embracing the dedicated staff who remain. They are the anchor of our culture. We are highly concerned about reported mistreatment, micromanagement, and exclusion of crucial, long-standing personnel. This behavior is counterproductive to excellence. We demand the board intervene to protect Bronwyn Sanderson. After nearly 2 decades, her knowledge, dedication, and support are invaluable. The administration must stop attempts to marginalize her and others. Action item for the board. Direct the administration to cease any marginalizing actions against long-tenured staff. Formally engage and interview Ms. Anderson and others listed below for their strategic insights on past success and necessary steps to reverse our current alarming trajectory. Ask her directly what worked, what has failed. Ms. Anderson is one of many pillars we must safeguard. We must ensure an environment of support, empowerment, and respect for the following individuals who represent the best of NYOS: Ms. Pierce, Ms. Harkins, Ms. McCoy, Ms. Ramirez, Ms. Zeitler, Ms. McClellan, Mr. Vela, Mr. O, Ms. Barda, the Strubies, and Ms. McCameron. The school is heading toward lower than ordinary because we are failing to retain and value our most experienced talent. We urge a formal investigation into staff attrition, especially among staff of color, and the development of specific retention strategies. We ask the school to consider recruiting esteemed former staff like Mr. Huff and Dr. Meek to reconnect with our successful past. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker, I have Utah Zimmerman, William Saviner, and Katie Lee.
Hi, my name is Utah Zimmerman. I'm in 9th grade. I am reading on behalf of an anonymous NYOS staff member. I am a NYOS educator. That I speak anonymously here because I fear retaliation saddens me. Why I must speak, that appalls me. The dismissal of Kendra McGee is ugly and shameful. She has always put her tremendous energy, compassion, and professionalism into protecting and educating our students. Why is McGee gone? The pretext given is attendance. Who honestly believes that? Who believes that this school could not manage to work out accommodations for family circumstances with a veteran administrator? Look around. NYOS families are here because of the series of missteps that have taken place this year. It falls squarely on the superintendent to answer for the school falling apart. What else is going to happen? Will the board take any action before we have a mass exodus of families and even more teachers? Silence will not help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Oh, wow, that's loud. Hi. My name is William Saviner, and I will also be reading on behalf of an anonymous NYOS staff member. I'm deeply concerned about the direction NYOS is taking under our new leadership. NYOS has always been known for its strong sense of community, genuine care for teachers and students, and supportive leadership that valued trust and anonymity. Since Dr. Rose has become superintendent, it feels like the foundation is being replaced with micromanagement and unnecessary pressure. The new expectations, such as day-to-days and consistent monitoring of teachers, don't align with NYOS culture that has made NYOS a special place to work. Many of us feel watched, scrutinized, rather than supported. Morale has dropped, and we've lost several great staff members because of this changed environment. Additionally, Principal Edwards' leadership style has only intensified these concerns. She has a reputation from Austin Chief for creating a toxic and high-pressure work environment, and unfortunately, that same atmosphere seems to be following her here. Staff members feel undervalued and stressed, and this is beginning to affect both teachers' retention and student experience. It is clear that both Dr. Rosas and Principal Edwards do not align with the values our community that NYOS has been built on. We need to take action now before we lose what has always made our school so unique and a respected place where teachers and students are genuinely cared for and supported.
Thank you, William. Katie.
Hi, my name is Katie. I'm the mom of a 10th grader here at NYOS. I don't really know what I want to say, honestly. I had something else written, but I feel like everybody has said such amazing things. But I want to remind y'all that we are here by choice. We choose this school. We're here because we share a commitment to the core values of NYOS. Values like integrity in all actions, nurturance of the whole person, respect and dignity for all, accountability for self. These values are not being upheld by the leaders on our campus. Rosas and Edwards are instead teaching fear and intimidation and hoping for compliance from students, staff, and parents. This is not the NYOS way, and it won't work on this community. I want you guys to raise your hand if you think that NYOS culture is crumbling under the rule of Rosas. I want you to raise your hand if you no longer believe that the administration has the NYOS community's best interests at heart. I want you to raise your hand if you've heard a student or a teacher say that they no longer feel free to be themselves. Raise your hand if you've heard a staff member say that they stay silent due to the threat of retaliation from administration. Raise your hand if you've considered leaving NYOS because of the actions of Dr. Rosas. I've emailed the board on several occasions begging for you all to step in and help us, and checks and balances to help us save our schools. I've been dismissed each time and referred back to Rosas herself. Where are the checks and balances? Who is going to help us? I'll say publicly here what I've said in those emails to each of you. Please consider removing Dr. Rosas as superintendent, and please help us save NYOS.
Next up, I have Renee Rodriguez, Leslie Guerrero Collins, and Jamie Saunders.
Hi, I'm Renee Rodriguez, a parent of 3 NYOS kids, and this is our 6th year, and I'm reading on behalf of an anonymous NYOS staff member. There is a growing concern within our school community regarding the continued lack of responsiveness from district leadership, particularly from the superintendent and elementary principal, when significant issues are brought forward. Matters involving bullying, funding priorities, and the rollout of new policies have repeatedly gone unaddressed, creating a serious communication gap between administration, staff, and families. This ongoing disconnect has eroded trust and left many parents and educators feeling unheard and unsupported. Additionally, recent hiring decisions have raised legitimate questions about transparency and ethical conduct. Superintendent Dr. Rosas appointed of a new high school principal, someone with whom she has a prior working relationship, was shortly followed by that principal hiring her own husband as a speech teacher and her niece as an educational assistant. These actions suggest potential nepotism and conflicts of interest which run contrary to the ethical and legal standards expected of public education leadership. Meanwhile, respected administrators such as Ms. McGee have faced termination for far less. While in the elementary school, Dr. Pesta rarely returns serious calls related to injured children or kids that are being bullied. Why are we not letting go of the principal who is bringing down our school ratings online, which further undermines confidence in the fairness and integrity of district decision-making? For the sake of our students, staff, and community, I respectfully urge the board to review these matters thoroughly and consider whether Superintendent Rosa's continued leadership serves the best interest of our district. It may be time to pursue a change in direction to restore transparency, accountability, and public trust before further harm is done to the
Thank
culture
you, that's time.
and reputation of our schools.
Thank you.
My name is Leslie Guerrero Collins, and I've been a NYOS parent for 8 years. NYOS was founded by parents who wanted more for their children's education, and that spirit has guided us for 27 years and guides me here tonight. It is unacceptable for administrators to hire friends and family, and I urge this board to implement a policy prohibiting this hiring practice. When a new leader immediately surrounds themselves with personal connections, it signals a lack of openness and collaboration and shows that that individual is primarily concerned with making themselves comfortable and secure. It is not a sign of a confident leader. And now we've seen how concerns about these hires are met with retaliation in the form of the NYOS administrative favorite, the LOATH Performance Improvement Plan, demonstrating obvious favoritism, creating fear amongst teachers, and damaging morale. In under 100 days, the actions of Mrs. Edwards and Dr. Rosas have led to 2 student demonstrations and this contentious board meeting. Instead of focusing on weaving herself into the vibrant fabric of NYOS, Mrs. Edwards chose instead to bring on her own people, alienate students and staff, and disrupt the career of a respected educator who happens to be facing a medical hardship within her family. To reduce this is to a matter of being 3 minutes late is misleading and profoundly disappointing. So let me remind you about who we are. In 2021, when a longtime elementary principal faced a similar medical hardship within her family, NYOS gave her 3/4 of leave and then transitioned her into an administrative role for another year. That is the NYOS way. Grace, not grief, support, not dismissal. What's unfolding now does not reflect the values that define NYOS. While we welcome new talent, NYOS does not want or need reinvention driven by individuals intent on leaving their imprint without even understanding our foundation. We already carry a proud legacy built on kindness, inclusion, academic excellence, and a deeply loyal community. What we need are leaders who honor that legacy, offer continuity, and are committed to strengthening the values that have guided us for nearly 3 decades. Mrs. McGee is this kind of leader, and I urge this board to restore her position to show our students that healing and growth are possible when leaders choose empathy, humility, and the courage to do what is right. Thank you very much.
My name is Jamie Saunders. I'm in 6th grade and will be reading on behalf of an anonymous NYOS staff member. This is hard to say, but sadly I do not feel comfortable coming to work anymore. Work has become stressful and not a place where everyone has a say. People that I have known for years since starting here have either been let go or have quit. This is not the NYOS that I want to stand up for. I am not proud to call this school my job like I used to. Recently, the NYOS spirit has dwindled and soon it will disappear for good. I hope we can do what needs to be done to make it better. I am reading on behalf of an anonymous NYOS staff member. Lunchtime at NYOS consists of 4 classes, the same grade level, in each of 2 lunch zones, which can be between 70 and 80 students per lunch zone. In each lunch zone, there are 2 lunch monitors in lunch zone 3. However, there's only 1 lunch monitor in zone 2. The lunch monitor supervises the students for 20 minutes while they are eating lunch and takes them outside for another 10 minutes. This is concerning because there being only being 1 lunch monitor in zone 2. The monitor in zone 2 is dependent on parent volunteers. However, there are many days where there are no volunteers. This is concerning, and there is a need for an additional person on a regular basis to assist in zone 2. That's it.
Thank you. Next up, I have Susie Ferguson, Arista Obiama, and Honoria Obiama, if I'm saying that right, and Emily Damashk. Okay.
I'm Arista Obioma, and I am reading on behalf of an anonymous NYOS staff member. My main concern isn't really about McGee specifically, but rather the issue of the sorry state of Texas support of education. We as educators in Texas already get paid significantly less than most states. We also don't get any kind of severance and are just left out to dry if we get cut from a school. Unless McGee was a threat to the safety of a student, setting a precedent that an established and valued member of the NYOS community could be fired at such short and sudden notice is unsettling and so disruptive to staff and students. The state of education in Texas is rough enough already. How can we work together so that at least we can take care of our own? Surely, being again understaffed is not an improvement over having a cherished, invested, and experienced member of our team on board. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, my name is Inaria Obioma, and I'm reading on the behalf of a anonymous NYOS parent. I'm the parent of 2 graduates, and I'm also a school administrator in another ISD. My family chose NYOS to educate our children not only based on the text of the mission and the core values, but also based on the actions, the planning, and the overarching daily commitment to the mission and values. NYOS has never been a perfect school. No school is. But previous leaders, executive director, principals, and the school board demonstrated honesty, ethics, dedication, and cohesive efforts to plan, solve problems, and fill gaps. Again, not a perfect school, but with a school with leaders who consciously work together and consciously align students and parents to solve problems. What is grossly obvious is the cohesion aligned with the actual mission of the school no longer exists. The lack of direction and transparency starts at the top. While the board and the superintendent may be perturbed at the outcry from staff, parents, and students, it is necessary that both the board and superintendent accept their role and their own accountability in creating the angst and distrust. I would also encourage the board to listen carefully to staff, students, and parents. After listening, it is always necessary to ask questions. What is truly at the root of our concerns? Is there a lack of trust, disrespect, dishonesty, accountability, lack of integrity, or lack of follow-through? Or is it that board and the superintendent have determined to lower the standards and expectations of actions resulting in accomplishments? Are both the board and the superintendent seeking an average school, your ordinary school? And if so, they should update the mission and values to align with the new direction so that everyone can formally agree what was once a school of excellence. I will also say that as I was looking through the NYOS biography or the About section for my school project in Taffy, I realized that these ideals are some that have died long ago. With the new implementation of the superintendent, most especially, there has been increasing issues within NYOS. We have lost valuable staff because of the nonsense ideologies that have begun to fester at NYOS, and I'm glad that as a senior, this will no longer be my issue. However, I worry for my siblings and other faculty and staff who will have to endure
That's
such.
time.
I urge that we move towards a positive change for NYOS and not one that will continue to strip this place of its righteousness. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there. My name is Emily Domashk. I am a parent of two students, one in elementary, one in high school, and we've been coming to NYOS this is our 12th year. We chose NYOS because of its diversity and because it was not ordinary and all of the things and all of the reasons your people here. And there has been a change in the culture, and it doesn't feel like we're not ordinary. We're starting to feel very ordinary, especially in the backdrop of everything that's happening in our state and in our nation. This is evident in how the planned protest was handled, that students were told they couldn't leave, that they would be marked truant, and that it was implied that charges might even be brought. I was always eager to share about our school, drafted a lot of friends to come in here. I now know many families that are leaving or have left, and I will be honest, I am confident that my older son will graduate from here, but I am not so sure about my younger son because of the changes that we're seeing. And I just wanted to say also some big support for Ms. McGee. She was great as the transition out of the pandemic happened. All of those kids were her kids, and she made the connection between my kids. They're 6 years apart in school. She always had a kind word to say, and she always supported them. They were still her kids even when they were in high school. So she took a day out of her weekend, and she came out to Dripping Springs last year to support the kids in robotics team. It's a high school only event, but she drove all the way out to Dripping Springs to show her support. There weren't that many other people who came out who weren't the parents of the kids who were there or already involved, and I really appreciated that, and that's the kind of educator she is, and that's the kind of community that she has built, and that's what I will miss from our school, and that's what we're losing when we get rid of educators who have that kind of connection with our students and with our body politic of everybody that's here. So it's really regretful to see the changes that are happening and the changes that are being wrought upon us. We feel so impotent about it and unable to change it, so I appreciate that you all take time to listen to our words here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Our last four speakers I have is Patty Kent, Julian C., Natalie Wood, and Sky Moshber.
Hello, thank you so much for serving this community. I spent the whole day on a field trip, so I'm a little disorganized, but let me just let you know, I hate school. I'm a homeschooler. I homeschooled my kids for over a decade. There was one school since the early 2000s that had the reputation amongst homeschoolers as the place to take your kids into a regular institution when you needed it, and it was this school. The reputation that NYOS has had for 26 years amongst people who hate school is, it's the best place to take your kids. So my kid, my youngest, is graduating this year, and this is not the place it used to be. I'm telling my friends with young children who are non-binary, sit out. Don't come. I know, I'm a little disorganized. I hate that I'm telling people not to come to this place, y'all. I have worked here in special education for a couple of years. I'm not an expert. But what I see in this Ed department is deeply troubling to me. Take that, put that in your hat. I'll talk again later. Have a good night.
Hello, I am Julian Cooney, and today I will be reading on behalf of an anonymous parent. I understand that many of you are new, and some, especially our community members, may not be closely involved with the daily life of our school. So I want to help you understand where we are coming from. After the new building opened, we experienced a mass exodus of elementary teachers. When they came to admin for guidance and support, they were told to deal or leave. Parents who reached out with concerns were told to take it up with the board. Our board meetings used to have maybe 3 parents. Now they have a full house. For years, parents, teachers, and staff have shown up, sometimes in tears, asking questions, offering ideas, and hoping to be heard. We've seen a revolving door of administrators and board members who often tell us they don't understand what we mean by culture, so we've tried to explain. When Dr. Rosas was hired, our hopes were high. We know tough decisions have to be made for financial reasons, but what we've continued to see is experienced, dedicated teachers leaving, not because they don't love our school, but because of how they've been treated and because expectations have become impossible to meet. Several have told me that they would come back in a heartbeat if they knew they'd be treated like human beings. Teachers used to speak freely to me. Now all I get is, it's been an adjustment. When I volunteer, I see administrators walking the halls, policing students and staff. Our kids keep losing the people that they trust, or people who even know their names. We may come across as hostile, but we are scared. Parents and staff are holding their breath, 1 foot already out the door. Please understand that our passion and anger come from desperation. You, our board, are our last hope. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Natalie. I'm a parent here at NYOS, and I'm reading on behalf of an anonymous NYOS staff member. Good evening, members of the board. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of many teachers and students who are deeply concerned about the direction our school is heading. NYOS no longer feels aligned with its original mission and goals. The culture that once made us not your ordinary school is fading into something more traditional, distant, and disconnected from the strong sense of community we once had. Many of us have noticed a growing divide between leadership and those working directly with students. Our superintendent rarely engages with teachers or students, and many feel unseen or unheard. True leadership requires visibility, empathy, and a willingness to listen. Unfortunately, the current approach has felt cold and dismissive, and that has taken a toll on morale across our campus. We've lost several outstanding teachers, some of whom have served over 10 years and made a lasting impact on students' lives. Many left because of the leadership climate and lack of support. As a teacher, I have to be honest, I no longer feel safe or supported working here, and I'm truly on the fence about whether I want to continue next year. What's even more concerning is that I'm not alone. Many teachers have expressed that they also do not feel safe and are considering not returning. When so many dedicated educators feel this way, it's a clear sign that something is deeply wrong. It feels as though leadership has forgotten that students come first and that teachers are the foundation of their success. The handling of Ms. McGee's situation was another painful example. She is a compassionate and student-centered leader who has earned the respect of this community. The way her situation was handled showed little empathy or respect, and it sent a troubling message about the direction of our leadership. I urge the board to reflect on these concerns and to take action toward restoring leadership that values connection, listens to its teachers, and truly puts students at the heart of every decision.
Hi, my name is Sky. I'm a student here at NYOS, and I am reading on behalf of an anonymous NYOS staff member. Employees are afraid of repercussions if we say anything. We don't know who to go to about complaints or suggestions, and obviously we cannot go to HR. The staff morale is the worst it's ever been. The people we used to trust are now trying to keep their jobs and turning on others. The constant observations are making it a hostile work environment and not one that is conducive for nurturing children. Our students feel it too. We were an award-winning school with award-winning teachers. We now feel we are being judged and written up for everything. We feel we are being pinned against each other. There is no collaboration, just admin's way, and no one trusts them. The only one we could trust was fired. It truly feels like a hostile takeover from DSS. We want our NYOS back. And also, I'd like to say something, just me, Sky. We walked out for a reason. Thank you so much.
That is all the comments we have tonight. And on behalf, what's your name? MJ. Okay, did you sign up online or? Yes. Okay, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. I am too short for this. Okay. My name is MJ Orton. I have been here since pre-K, and I have loved NYOS since I was a baby. There is absolutely nothing that could make me hate this school, but this is not the school that I went to and I grew up in when I was a kid. I have grown up loving this place and feeling seen and accepted, but now, as a student in musical theater with that camera there, I feel unsafe doing whatever it is we do in musical theater. I feel watched and I feel scared. I feel scared walking through the hallways, worried that I'm going to get seen by a teacher doing something completely normal. I'm scared that, like, I'm gonna be called out for using my preferred name when I'm introducing myself. I feel like I'm just going to be targeted. And this is not how NYOS should be. McGee was one of the greatest admins, one of the greatest teachers we've had, and she was the last pillar holding up this school, and you fired her. You took her away for such a stupid reason, quite frankly. I'm sorry, I'm very emotional right now. It was a stupid reason. She has a mother to take care of, and the fact that she was fired for being 3 minutes late is, quite frankly, repulsive, and I am scared for the kids who are younger than me. I'm graduating this year, and I'm happy I'm graduating this year because I don't want to be here anymore. And I'm scared for the kids who still have to go here. Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of myself and every board member, I thank you for your attendance tonight and for your heartfelt expressions of concern for our school. We share your fondness for NYOS and take seriously our responsibility to steward the resources of the school, including its human capital. As you know, we cannot discuss personnel matters in the open forum, but know this board believes that NYOS values should be fostered in all aspects of school operations, including in the school's personnel decisions. The board is not posted to act on any personnel matters tonight, but we invite you to stay with us as the board proceeds with its posted agenda. Again, thank you for attending. We appreciate all of you. Board, on to new business. As a reminder, we did pull down the purposed pediatric therapy from consent. This was brought down initially because we thought it was over $50,000, and as a reminder, our contracts over $50,000 are brought down to the regular agenda. Initially, we had the option to keep it at $100,000, but we are bringing them down. And so I discussed, and Dr. Rose, I just want to be clear on the amount for this contract.
For the therapy?
Yeah.
So the contract, as I understand it, is for 9 months only and will not exceed the $50,000 limit that we have at NYOS by law. Typically, it's a $100,000 threshold, but we chose $50,000 to make sure we're good stewards of our finances. So if we were to exceed that, we track, and if we were to headed towards exceeding the $50,000, we would execute a full RFP.
Okay.
So
Any
on
questions?
that subject, though, I believe in the past have asked that contracts have limits, and I think there were 2 contracts, one smaller and this one that didn't have a clear limit. And the obvious question is, if we're on an annual basis, paying over 50,000 for this service, would it make sense to hire a staff member that can put in more time? And you don't have to answer it, I'm just saying, you know, it's a question.
Thank you, Hassan. Okay. Do I have a motion to accept this contract as presented? Hassan? Second. Ben? All in favor? Okay. Do I have all not in favor? Okay, one not in favor. Richard? Okay. On to...
Can I ask a question here?
Yeah.
Do we ask why somebody's not in favor? I'm just wondering, it doesn't happen that often, and don't answer this now. I'm asking Nina if that's something we can ask, or
Yeah,
is that something we take offline?
I think after the motion, our attorney is here today. I think that we can open for discussion. Is that right? Okay. Okay.
I mean, I like your point, Hassan, that why not delay it for a little while to investigate the deal, to see if we can get a better one, or to see if we can get a full-time person here, which would probably in the long run, or potentially be a little more cost saving for us, and we would have a full-time person here, someone dedicated to NYOS.
Yeah, and again, I'm
Makes
not
sense.
asking for that now, because I'm assuming that the administration's done the work to go, that's the path forward and the quickest path to get the services we need. But longer term, right, that would be a good question.
Historically, we track the expenses for the outside vendors to make sure that we don't reach the $50,000 threshold. If we do, we then go out for a full RFP. For a lot of our special ed services, we cannot find an employee for full-time, so we have been contracting because we want to ensure that we get the needed services to our students. If we do find a full-time employee, we will definitely hire them, but our experience has been that's a big area of need across our nation, so we've been contracting.
Just an additional question. We certainly have an exit clause in there, so if we should find another resource that can do that, we can make modifications that are best for NYOS.
Absolutely, that's part of what I look at when I review those contracts, is to make sure that there's nothing unusual in there that would preclude us from exiting the contract.
Okay, we've motioned and seconded and voted. I believe we're good. On to the additional policies. We have two, under students, participation in UIL activities by non-enrolled students, and then parental notification of employee misconduct. Dr. Roses, can you briefly describe those policies?
For sure. So tonight we're considering two policies: participation in UIL activities by non-enrolled students, which is PG 3.506. In this policy, it is the board's decision whether or not we allow students who are not enrolled at NYOS to participate in UIL activities. After research and consideration, my recommendation is that we do not take in students outside of NYOS for UIL activities. The research was talking to staff members and also gathering data and information from other charter schools across Texas about how they're approaching this policy. Some of the challenges that districts are facing is ensuring that our existing students get the opportunity to play. If you're taking in students from the community that are not enrolled here, then they're on an equal playing field. So it could conceivably keep from some of our own students from participating in sports. Another reason was student and adult behavior is harder to manage when they're not under our student code of conduct, and we don't have a relationship and know them. And so for that reasons, every one of the superintendents that we reached out voted to not have their own enrolled students in the UIL sports. The second policy we're considering is parental notification of employee misconduct, which is 4.204. This is an existing policy, but a new version from the 89th legislature. The changes are that there's an expanded application to include people like contractors and tutors, anyone who would have contact with our students. In the past, you had a 7-day window, and now it's a 48-hour for principals to notify the superintendent, and also a 48-hour limit to notify the State Board of Education of any abuse, sexual misconduct, and things of that nature.
Okay, any questions for Dr. Rosas?
I have one for the special notification one. So basically, anybody who would be on campus, right, volunteers, it will now extend to everybody, right? Essentially.
Not necessarily. When we have visitors that come into our system, they're run through our Raptor front system, and that does check the sexual predator database. But anybody who visitors are almost always in the presence of a staff member, right? If you're going to be working with students like a substitute teacher, a contractor, someone else, where you could potentially be alone with a student or students, there's a much more rigorous standard, and that's where this policy comes into play.
Okay, all right, it's at least getting there, right? We're providing more coverage, or trying to extend that umbrella, basically.
For sure, an expanded coverage.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
So as a student for UIO, as a student who is and has been very involved in the NYOS athletics community, I've been a part of teams where we've barely had enough players to even play a season. The NYOS football team for middle school, specifically the first 3 or 4 seasons, it's 6-man football, and we had 6 players to play. And then I know I have friends on the cross-country team, and my brother even participated. I believe there's 4 or 5 runners that are participating, and then this might be a completely other conversation, but I know we used to have a track team, but now we don't even have a coach, but also enough players to do track, when that's something me and also some of my friends have expressed interest in. So I don't know if that's worth taking into consideration when discussing UIL, but yeah.
Thank you for that. We can definitely look at it more deeply if the board feels like it's necessary. I think athletics for all charter systems can be a challenge to make sure that you're having a strong enough team. I always give preference and attention to our NYOS students as opposed to external students. And for that reason, if you have, for example, a 6-man team and you open it up, you could, for example, have 6, 10, I'm making up a number, of external candidates that would be competing with you for those same slots. So conceivably, NYOS students would not make the team. So that was why I made the recommendation.
Yeah, Dr. Rose, I have a question about this one. I'm confused. I mean, I totally understand camp. I love football. How many schools, you said not many across the state, do this, allow non-enrolled students? I don't really understand where this option even came from, I guess. I don't know, if you were enrolled at an ISD, you can't participate for another school, right? Why is this even an option for charters?
This new law applies to all public schools, so that's traditional ISDs plus charters. And so this conversation is happening in traditional ISDs as well as in charters. And so it is opening it up for conversation, because you could have students who are homeschooled or have some other alternative education. And it's for that community or that school system to decide whether they will open it up and give students who are not enrolled with their system the opportunity.
I think I really like, Camp, your points, but when you're thinking about this issue, it stems from parents who are homeschooling their students, and they live in a school district where they pay those taxes, and they feel that because they pay those taxes, they should also be able to participate and those parts of the thing. We don't have a tax base like that, and it's not that we have this large group of homeschool students asking to come here. We're not really the target of this. And we went over this, and Dr. Roses and her team haven't been asked by homeschool students and haven't been approached, and we haven't had them in the past asking to be part of our UIL activities, and it would be a complicating factor for sure if we were to introduce it. So while the policy is changing, the actual impacts of it are not changing here at NYOS because it hasn't been part of our standard operating.
Any other questions for Dr. Rosas? Okay, before we move to a vote, I want to take a moment to thank everyone who shared feedback with the board on these policies, including Ms. White, who both spoke at last month's meeting and again this evening. We appreciate the time from our community members and staff who have taken time to speak. Your input is valued and has been part of our consideration as we review this item. These policies will be retroactive as of September 1st, I believe, Dr. Rosas?
Yes.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept both policies under the personnel and student as presented.
I'll make a motion for the board to adopt both policies.
Ben, do I have a second? Hassan, all in favor? Okay, all opposed? Any further discussion? Two opposed? Okay, motion passes. Next item on the agenda is to discuss and vote on a resolution for compliance with Texas Education Code 11.005, prohibition on DEI duties, and Section 28.0022, certain instructional requirements and prohibitions in alignment with board-approved policies.
So this is a resolution that is tied to, as President Laura said, the policies that have already been passed at the last board meeting, which is 11.005 and 28.0022. Within SB 12, there is a provision that requires a certificate of compliance from the superintendent. That certificate must be voted on by the board. The resolution to be voted on certifies that both required policies by law are in place at NYOS. This will be done in each year, and then the certification will be posted on our website, and this is a requirement that comes from the state of Texas.
Any questions?
I just want to take the opportunity to make a comment that if you know 11.005 and 28.0022, you know what's in those provisions, and it's not up to us to agree or disagree with those. This is something that the state of Texas is pushing down onto us very hard. Like, we don't have the option to adopt or not adopt this resolution. We have to adopt this resolution. So while I did not agree with what the legislature did when they were writing those provisions, in order to keep the doors open and keep NYOS running, we have to adopt this resolution. If I choose not to, then I have to leave. I just think that's really important, that we're all going to have to sign this thing, but it is part of doing business, and it's part of keeping NYOS going forward, and every school district's having to do it, and that's just something to think about when you head ballot boxes and engage with the legislature. But I'll be signing the resolution reluctantly, but that's the cost of doing business.
Dr. Rosa, can you speak some to what happened between this meeting and last meeting, and how, obviously the law has not changed. What kind of happened behind the scenes with how it was used in schools?
If I don't answer your question, you'll tell me, but what I think was your question is, typically when the legislature finishes, we just finished the 89th legislative session, every school district, whether they're traditional ISDs or charters, work with their legal firm. And they go through each one of the laws and determine first, does it apply to my system? And then what does that need to look like? Are there any policy changes that need to happen? And then it becomes my role as superintendent, and then working with the board, or anything that are in our practices that need to change based upon that. charters have a lot more freedom than traditional ISDs. So for the most part, when a legislative session ends, almost 100% are going to apply to traditional ISDs, but they still review all of them. For us, there's a little bit of a lag time because not all of the laws do apply to us. And so for a superintendent in any system in Texas to just wholesale start changing policies and creating structures doesn't make sense, because then it may not apply to you. And even sometimes we found in this legislative session, the things that were passed, TEA wasn't necessarily ready to implement and didn't have guidelines for us, even for things that applied for us. So we work closely with our legal team throughout, since the session has ended, to see what policies need to be in place as of September 1st and carry those forward, and then what things are going to come later. And as we receive guidance, it comes in chunks, and then I take action on that within the next board meeting. So we initially received the guidance on those two policies, as well as all the policies that have been approved for this year, and this certificate came after that, and that's why it came at this meeting. Did I answer your question?
I think so. I guess my question is, like, were we hopeful that the DEI policy ones were not going to apply to NYOS? Or did we think?
I think that any policy that does not align with NYOS's core values, we're hoping don't apply to us. And early on, at every meeting I attended as a superintendent, I was asking questions about the ones I was most concerned about, because I wanted to be in front of them and make sure that we continue to live and support our values.
Sarah, I just want, is your question about the union, the student union?
Yes.
Okay, and so like at the last board meeting, my understanding was that there was no action needed at that time. But since then, action has been needed. So what changed in the legal interpretation that made us take that action?
Thank you. I was wondering if that was specifically, so that's a primary one where from the very beginning, as we looked through policies, I was zoomed in on that, and literally every single meeting with superintendents, whether legal presence was there or not, I was asking that question to the point of being annoying, because supporting and putting systems in place to support our students is number one beyond safety. And so I was not getting an answer. I was not getting guidance. And so I was hopeful that we might be exempted from that. And then even behind the scenes, I met with the students in that club. And I also spoke with a few parents to let them know, because I knew they were worried as well. But then once I received guidance that we were going to have to put the policy in place, I started working with the principal to set up structures so that those students could continue to meet, and gave multiple options. And so they have set up a club that's an alternate. I think that, to be completely frank, some of our students have not shared with their families what their preference is, and so there were fears around saying, okay, we're going to do this other club, because we have to receive individual permission for each club. Parents, as they've been going online, are giving a blanket permission, but we have to give individual permissions. And so keeping a little bit of openness so that students who don't feel comfortable yet sharing with their parents, they still could opt into that club and have a space that they could be together. And so that club has been formed.
Thanks for sharing those details and for the attention to the fact that, every student's in a different situation.
Can I will just say, I realize we basically have to approve this according to the state of Texas and TEA and all that in order to keep the lights on, as you mentioned, Ben. I guess I'll just speak on behalf of a lot of my students. And I will say, I guess this is an opportunity for us to show that we are not your ordinary school, to not adopt this policy.
What is the alternate? What is the alternative? Get the license, get our charter revoked?
Go to court, yeah, I guess.
I have to submit a certificate that we signed it. If we do not, then I would assume that we would, some of the larger school districts who frankly have larger legal budgets will publicly denounce and have a lawsuit to fight Smaller districts typically don't do that because they don't have the resources, and it takes away from programming for students. But I'm sure the state will come and ask where a certificate is if it's not posted.
Well, I am shy because I have personal opinions about this that are really strong. But ultimately, because I am not acting as Sarah, a mom, and a human, I'm having to act as a school board member whose number one job right now is to keep the school running, and a lawsuit is not something that we can afford. So then it feels a little frustrating that there's a possibility that I can't tell other people how to vote, but it's like I'm having to sit here and I'm having to vote on something that makes me sick, but I'm still doing it because it is my job as a school board member to ensure that we don't get in a multi-million-dollar lawsuit and we can't pay to keep the lights on. And we can't educate kids who are different and need a safe place. And so I guess my concern is that we don't have people on the board right now who are going to take this as an opportunity to grandstand. And it makes people who are doing something that they really hate to do look even worse. And that's just, that's what I signed up for, but I feel like I need to be heard on that.
Can you hear me? To speak to that, in our meetings, we've had the advocacy, and we have spoken about many ways and actions that, as board members, we can, or not just board members, but as people and mothers and fathers, might kind of speak for our personal advocacy. So that's been a theme, Nina, throughout our, and again, not ordinary board meetings, that we have spoken constantly about how we can advocacy for what we believe is behind the NYOS culture.
So I guess I want to just go back to this is legal and there's a compliance issue here. But I want to really focus on, do we feel as though each and every one of our students is being cared for in the way that they need? And do they have access through whatever the alternatives are to what they're going to need going forward? And do we have a level of confidence in that?
I have a level of, first of all, I have a level of confidence in the history of NYOS and what NYOS has offered. I can't say that I feel that every single student has what they need, because that's our work, to make sure that every single child has what they need. When one person or 20 people stand up and say that that's not happening, or we see that that's not happening, whether it's in a classroom or talking with a student or looking at data, we always have that work to do. But that is why I worked proactively long before I received the requirement to make sure that there were lots of options out there, that we engaged our students, that we talked to some of the parents, and that we even on the back end were responsive and not going public with the alternate club, so that students would feel safe and have a place that they could go and feel like they were included.
So is it possible for us to make sure we have a process in place to make sure we are getting good feedback from students and on what the needs are? I would just love it if there was some kind of formal process and that students were made aware of how to use it, and that it was anonymous, and that we were respecting. Is it possible for us to put something like that in place?
Are you meaning that particular club, or just in general, or both?
I certainly wanted to
Yes.
protect that particular club.
So the principal of the high school has met with the club and informed all of them and worked with them to create a new club, so that they know what their options are. That club will be listed on the list of clubs and be part of the permissioning that happens. The name does not indicate that it's the queer union. It's an alternative name that leaves it open. And then yes, I think that we always can explore more structures to make sure that we're hearing students' voice. We have student representation on our board that are part of student council. We have the student council leader on our board. And then we're, in elementary, we're a leader in Me campus, and we've been doing a tremendous amount of work. And we had speakers at our open house the other night that were the students talking about NYOS, and they came out of that group who had just gone on a field trip, and we're beginning that work in middle school as well. So I think, as always, we're always trying to improve and grow, and I join you in that desire for strong student voice.
Thank you.
On this issue, so I'll be voting to adopt the resolution, and I hope there's enough of us to do that so that if a couple of us really don't want to, that they have that cover and we can pass it and be compliant. But things like this come down from, and it's really frustrating. And one of the things that you'll notice is that right will win out and they'll find a way. And there are exceptions in this law, the way it's written. Of course, they can't stomp out First Amendment rights and things. And I look forward to seeing some creative adaptations so that, you know, the idea and the passion behind this club can keep moving forward and be accepted. I'm hoping the community can help out a little bit where the legislature has tied the hands of the school. And so I think that, you know, we don't have that answer right now, but I hope that it's much sooner than later that we can have a new normal that is, I would like to say better. I hope it will be better. But in the meantime, I'll have to do this one. But I do have a strange sense of optimism that we'll come out on the other side with some new ideas.
What do we need to pass it? Like, how many votes?
Just quorum, majority. Okay.
Two things. First, with, you know, majority vote in mind, I do think I'm going to vote against this. It's very important for me as a teacher to send a message to my students that I support them, and I understand the legal situation we're in, but I am going to vote against it for that reason. But I also had other questions. Where are we legally, in terms of clarity, on other student unions at NYOS at this point? Because some of them have been, you know, questions have been brought up about Black Student Union, Latinx Student Union, and other organizations that may be targeted by these policies.
Thank you for the question. SB 12 particularly calls out that populations, underserved populations such as Black and Hispanic, still are able to have clubs. It's really only those that are focused on sexual orientation, and that's why I had been asking questions early on. And so the guidance that we've received has only been for that club in particular. So there will be no changes to other clubs as far as I can tell.
I just want to reiterate the point that Sarah made and that Ben made around, if folks are choosing not to vote for this, I want them to be sure that they feel confident that if we don't get a majority vote, they're okay with NYOS essentially closing, either financially or because we're forced to by the government. So that is, I really think that that is like the thing that we're facing here, and I know that that's disgusting to all of us. But please don't make it harder for those of us who feel like we have to vote for it to keep the school open.
Now, we do have our attorney here today. Denise, can we get your advice, or? I can give you some legal information. There you go. Oh, do we have a mic for you? Okay.
I'll project. I am Denise Pierce. I'm proud to be legal counsel for NYOS. I can't offer legal advice in this forum, but I can give the board some legal information. And to the point, I want to read from Senate Bill 12, which says that a school district or open enrollment charter school may not authorize or sponsor a student club based on sexual orientation or gender identity. Very straightforward. We cannot authorize or sponsor. I heard the superintendent say we are not going to authorize or sponsor a student club based on sexual orientation or gender identity. That will make us compliant with the law. But we have thought of ways to accommodate our students by offering them different ways to gather under different banners and different purposes that are not implicated by the express language of this bill. So with that information, I think the resolution that's in front of you is specific to a commitment that you're not going to engage in requiring employees to support diversity, equity, and inclusion programs on campus. And you're also saying through that certification that you're not going to engage in teaching students critical race theory on campus. I think your resolution does not get to the heart of your sexual identity and gender identity club issue. So for those of you who are having really concerns about that, the resolution in front of you doesn't force you to vote up or down on the student club issue. I hope that information gives you some confidence about accepting the recommendation from your administration to vote for this resolution while understanding and appreciating that other opportunities are being made available to students for their emotional and physical and academic needs on campus.
Can I ask for us to vote on this as our last vote of the night, just so we have more time to think about it?
Do y'all want to move this to after executive session? Okay. So we'll move this vote to the after executive session. Next item on the agenda is item number 7, discuss bilingual ESL education program report.
Thank you. I will be speaking on our emergent bilingual program. This is a report that's required every year, and if we could advance the slides. Oh, you have this. Oh. I was wondering why they weren't advancing. It's because the remote's right here next to me. So some of the data that we'll be sharing tonight is from our program from last year, and then some of the data will be from the program from this year, and that will make sense in just a second. So there are several program types that are available to any traditional or charter ISD. The law states that if a district has more than 20 students in any one grade level, we have to offer one of these programs: dual language immersion one way, dual language immersion 2-way, transitional bilingual late exit, or transitional bilingual early exit. To date, NYOS has not had 20 students who speak one particular language that has caused us to offer a bilingual program. And so we currently offer an ESL program for our students. So what is involved in the ESL program? It is a program that serves all of our students who are acquiring English. Instruction is provided by the teacher who is appropriately certified in ESL through English language arts and reading, math, science, and social studies. The goal of content-based ESL is that students can attain proficiency in English and they can participate equitably in school with their peers. Some data of NYOS is what does our enrollment of EB students look like over time. And so, as you can see, there are times, if we just look at pre-K, for example, we currently, last year we had 58 students enrolled. 4 years prior, we had 55, and then there was a little bit less in between. So there's some ebbs and flows, but stays within a range. And so you can see what our English language learners look like over time. Next, we have data on number of students enrolled in the EB program. That means that you can have students who speak multiple languages, but they are proficient in English, so they don't need to be in the emergent bilingual program. But of those students who do need those services, you can see how many students we have by grade level. You can also see the number of students that have been reclassified. That means students who receive proficiency and no longer need those services, so they exit out of the ESL program. The number of students who are in monitoring status, so that means students who exited at one point or another, but we're still monitoring and supporting them. We can also look at the data. We looked at the data in almost every one of our board meetings, but looking through the lens of a student who's acquiring English, we can see TELPAS is a test that they take so that we can monitor their scores, and we look at their performance. We also, of course, look through the lens of STAR because that is ultimately our district rating. So you can see their performance in math and ELA. We provide to our staff a tremendous amount of professional development. Teacher autonomy is a big part of what makes NYOS NYOS, and so it's our responsibility to make sure that our teachers are being fed with the information that they need. And so here's just a brief listing of some of the professional developments that we have offered or have slated for this year. We also include our parents to make sure that no matter what language you speak, whether it's English or some other language, you can actively participate in our NYOS community. We've had cultures and coffee. We have a upcoming Where Are You From? TELPAS one-on-one so that we can build inclusion with all of our families who may not speak English. And then that's also an opportunity to teach them about TELPAS, about one of the assessments that we give to our students. Parental involvement activity nights, making sure we're showcasing all of our students. And then lastly, talking about certification. Making sure that our staff is certified in ESL is really important, and that's ongoing work. We're not where we want to be or need to be. Charter schools have a little bit more freedom as far as hiring staff who don't have that ESL certification, but the state is getting tighter and tighter with that expectation. So we closely track all of our teachers and look at their certifications. Currently, we have 32 elementary and 32 secondary teachers that we will apply a waiver because they do not have that certification that they need. And so we filled that waiver out. I submitted it today after it was filled out. So every district is looking at how they can improve the ESL offerings that they have. You can see the law that is listed. We have an emergent bilingual plan for both elementary and secondary. We review it each quarter to make sure that we're offering services that are appropriate for our students, and then also supporting our teachers as they build up tools that fit in their tool belt that also help all students, not just our students who are acquiring English. And so we also review our campus improvement plans to make sure that our emergent bilinguals are supported in our plans to improve our campuses. Our emergent bilinguals make up, as a subpopulation, about 30% of our students. And then, lastly, the law states that it is the role of the Board of Trustees of an open enrollment charter to ensure that we comply with all of the requirements. So, for example, submitting that waiver for non-certified teachers and making sure that we're on track with all of the legal requirements is in place. And then this outlines our annual requirements and where we are.
Questions for Dr. Rosa?
Dr. Rosa, I know that emergent bilingual is your background. What do you see in the data when you look at the data? Like, what pops out at you about our emergent bilingual population and how we're serving them?
It's been now a year and a few months. I think that we have quite a bit of work to do. But the good news is that we have excellent staff who really are honed in on their craft of what they do with our students and really care very deeply about each individual child. But it's just like any other, every child has their unique needs and unique strengths. When you're looking through the lens of special education or emergent bilingual, looking at and making sure that every teacher has the tools that they need to make sure that kids are growing, because for emergent bilinguals, they're not only learning content, whether you're in first grade or 10th grade, but you're learning language simultaneously. It can be very challenging. But I think our exit rates overall, if you compare us to the state of Texas, speak well of the work that we're doing.
Thanks.
Dr. Roses, what are the top things that are going to help us get to our goal? Is it going to be staffing? Is it going to be resources? Is it going to be time?
All of the above. I think we have to be unrelenting in making sure that we're supporting our staff to take the ESL certification test and get what they need, putting structures in place to make sure that there's no barrier to that. I think the tools, some examples are having an active word wall, having sentence stems, focusing on speaking, listening, reading, writing, having opportunities for our teachers have Friday half days, and making sure we're building in time for them to identify and grow those tools and be supported by our instructional coaches and our EB leads, making sure that they feel comfortable using those tools, and then also data tracking, seeing if we are making gains in our formative and summative assessments.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, if not, we'll move on to board advocacy. As you guys know, last year, David, Melina, and I met with TPCSA regularly during the 89th legislative session to go over all the things related to all the bills related to charter schools. Now, Ben and I are meeting with TPCSA. We met with them this week, I think, maybe last week. And some of the things that we've achieved, which is our top priority, which is HB 2, which replaced the cap on charter facilities with a student-based formula. So the result is about $100 million per year for charter schools, which will grow with enrollment. And so that was a huge win for charter schools. The other one was the TRS bill that put a spotlight on the unfairness that charters pay more into the teacher retirement system than ISDs. This was a little confusing to me, but Ben can probably explain it more. I believe this bill did pass, but was not funded by the legislature. Hopefully that can be addressed during a future legislative session. Ben, do you have anything to add to that?
That's a tough one.
You don't have to.
Yeah. So essentially it did pass, but there was an amendment put on there that the legislature is going to have to actively go in and put the extra money so that the state taxpayers would have to fund the money for the charter school teachers' retirement, which is going to be a tough one considering the opposition that charters face from the broader teacher union.
Mm-hmm. Another one of their priorities was to pass the good laws, the parity and clarity laws, which we were unable to pass, but they did stop 100% of the bad laws. They blocked 11 bills and 5 amendments that would have harmed public charter schools, and amended bills to protect charters as well. And so what can we do right now in the interim time? And that is to tell our stories and ensure that lawmakers know who we are. Ben and I are actively working on that right now. There are many ways to do this, right? And Ben and I met with our regional TPCSA advocate who can help connect us to legislatures. We plan to meet with him one-on-one. So board members, if you're interested in meeting with us, we would love for you to join us. It's a great opportunity for our full board to be involved in advocacy during the interim. So we will keep you updated on that. In addition, Ben and I also attended the TPCSA conference earlier this month. We participated in a roundtable with other charter schools to help inform TPCSA's new strategic plan. I thought that was my favorite part of the conference. They wanted to know how they can help better support our schools and across the state. So it was a small group. I was able to learn from the other charter schools, learn a little bit about their challenges, and share with them how they can help charter schools in their next strategic plan. We also attended sessions on charter law, accountability of public funds, student outcomes, and other topics. Ben, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, the conference was great. I go to things like that quite often, and I would encourage any of you that are interested in going to the conference. I think it's in Dallas next year. Let Nina know. It's the big takeaway was talking to other board members for me and hearing how alike or dislike they were to us, and that was really cool. I really enjoyed that, and I had fun. So I would encourage that. We also, when it comes to TPCSA, we have a really good, what they call a RAC, like a regional advocacy coordinator. His name's London Lawrence. Some of you may have met him. He's willing to sit down with a group of us. So if that's something, instead of having him do another presentation with slides, if you'd like to sit down with him and learn a little bit about advocacy, I would highly encourage that. Just let Nina or myself know, and we'll get a small group to meet with him, and he'll also come do another presentation. And then the last piece I would stress is we do these advocacy presentations, and it's really important. And right now, for not only the board members, but also for our NYOS community, we have two State House members that are going to leave. That's James Tallarico, who's running for the U.S. Senate, and it's Gina Hinojosa, who's running for Congress and running for governor. And those two compromise a lot of our community. So we need to get to know new people, and it's a great time because they're really eager to get to know people because they're looking for voters. I'll be meeting with Sam Resendez tomorrow, who's running for Tallarico's seat, but if you're interested in meeting with them, I highly recommend going to their little campaign websites and signing up for just like, give me your campaign updates. See what they're talking about, because we're gonna have to figure out who's got the charter vibe going, and it couldn't be more important. But also it's like when you get them young, you can kind of mold them to your way. And there's the charter school greater community, right? But there's also the NYOS community, and that's the one I'm really concerned about them knowing about. So like, whatever you think about charter schools on the whole, I don't care. But what I really want you to know is how important NYOS is and how important the community is to you. So I'll be doing that with some of those new people, and if you're interested, please just tell me. They want to shake hands. You guys are leaders, and it will, I'm telling you, it will make a difference in how they decide to cast their votes in 2027.
Okay, thank you. Next item is our superintendent update.
Good evening again, members of the board and our community. I'm very excited to give the superintendent's update of things that have been happening since we last met. First, a facilities update. Thank you. I want to highlight the facilities work that's been completed over the fall break. The board recently voted to keep all of our students here together on site, and we're busily preparing not only for next year, 26-27, but also 27-28. And we all know we have an extremely short summer, just 6 weeks. If no one takes any kind of a vacation on site. So we have been scheduling things out, and so we can get things done. So huge kudos to our team. Over fall break, a 2,400 square foot fitness pavilion has been added to provide a large covered outdoor space for our peak classes and student activities. The pavilion supports basketball, volleyball, and foursquare, and also includes lighting and electrical connections for versatile use. For example, it hosted our first outdoor homecoming dances for both middle school and high school. I was there. It was absolutely gorgeous to watch the middle school group and then the high school group go through, and it was nice to have those lights out there and have a covered space. A facility shop and storage area has also been completed. This was done so that we could free up storage space in the main building because we'll need to use those for classrooms for next year. In addition, our IT department will move from room C106 to the former maintenance shop. So some shifting around. Part of going back to the covered pavilion outside, we currently use 2 classrooms for rainy day PE, because if you can imagine elementary, middle, and high trying to get into the gym and have PE, it's very challenging. And so a lot of times one group will go outside and they kind of switch back and forth depending on the day. But if it's raining, we're very limited on indoor space. So just doing shifts that we need to do to be ready for next year. This is all part of the NYOS build-out for more classroom spaces. We also added, you can see solar lights in the A parking lot and on the lower white top. We'll probably see those tonight. Those were areas that were not well lit in the past and not safe, and we have a lot of evening events. Things that are to come this year, we have playground equipment that has been delivered. We've been waiting for that equipment to arrive for a while, and it is ready to be installed over the Thanksgiving break. My favorite part, celebrating our students. We had an amazing author visit for all of our students. NYOS hosted Eliza Kinks for an author presentation, and she was here several days, the 13th through the 15th. We had an elementary school twin day. We have a recent JAG brag. Ms. Mendoza's kindergarten class was awarded Jiggy. Congratulations, Jaguars, each day. Ms. Mendoza's class stands out by showing responsibility, effort, and care for one another. They're true leaders, learners, and friends who continue to make their mark in every way. Jiggy is our traveling mascot, in case you're wondering. And Jiggy is given to a class that goes above and beyond in modeling our school values, including kindness, teamwork, leadership, and a commitment to making a positive impact. And then there's a couple of pictures from our elementary Watchdogs pizza party on Thursday. As you know, that's our dads helping out to improve early morning and afternoon dismissal, and we're excited to get working with them. What I don't have on here that I'm going to take just a few minutes to talk about is the Jag Fest. I wasn't able to get photos on, but I wasn't able to attend Jag Fest last year. My husband had planned a trip before I had things on the schedule. So I was so excited to go to Jag Fest this year, and I was absolutely authentically blown away. You could not walk to any part of this campus where there was not an activity happening. I was able to see a lot of you guys, say hello. I ate so much food. I was miserable after I left. Donated a couple dollars here and there to kids who were begging for treats of their parents. It was just absolutely thrilling, and really what is most heartwarming is two things. First of all, the hours that our PTA puts into putting on this event. I had already heard how great Jag Fest was, so I couldn't wait to see it. The first thing I saw is principals and APs getting dunked, so that was the perfect way to start. But just the tremendous amount of energy, time, and care that's put in to put on the Jag Fest, but then also knowing that most of those funds go right back into our classrooms. Our teachers apply for funds to support classrooms, and so just way to go, PTA. I'm so proud of you guys and appreciate you.
We actually have the Judy who ran.
I see.
And then also the parent who did the silent auction. So I also would like on public record that I am keeping that also that Miss Gamble's class won Jiggy the Jaguar last week.
Thank you. To continue on with our culture, we had our first invitational cross-country meet. What a great undertaking by Coach Hawkins, Go Jags. And then just a few moments during Spirit Week and Principal Edwards' first homecoming dance with the students. We also wanted to point out we had a photo contest. We want to make sure we're capturing all the great things that are happening at NYOS. And so we put out a contest and we asked several of our vendors to provide prizes to incentivize folks to take great pictures. And so the results of the contest for NYOS Media Best Photo, first place was Nikita Pierce. Class working on theory project, she received a $50 gift card. I know that she was very excited about that. And then second place was Brian Ramirez, 7th grade field trip. A $50 gift card was given for that. Best third place was Jamie Estes' study trip to Bullock Museum in IMAX. And she received a collection of books from Book People and a gift card as well. So we want to congratulate them on those wins and these great photos because we really do want to capture all the great things that are happening at NYOS. I want to highlight a couple of events that are coming up. We have an elementary book character day on October 31st in the elementary area. Wicked Part 1 movie, Party Sing Along, that sounds so fun, on November the 14th. That's a community event. I want to speak a little bit about Dave & Buster's. We have a community spirit night on the 18th. Please mark that down on your calendar. I will be there. I will be encouraging all of our staff to be there. It's kind of like an opportunity for a Thanksgiving dinner with everyone. You can come. We're going to have as many of our staff there as possible. Have a great dinner. You don't have to cook. And 20% of all proceeds of food, games, and anything else that's purchased goes to the NYOS Fund that evening. And then just a reminder that from the 22nd to the 30th, we are on Thanksgiving break. We want to point out, and I actually had a parent the other day mention that they noticed our website got a cleanup and reorganization, and so we've completed that project. The updates make our site clearer, more user-friendly, and easier to navigate for families and staff. Please feel free to send me an email if there's something that you see that you find is clunky or you're unable to find it, or there's a way to improve. We're always looking to improve our website. We know so many of our families use it. Next, I want to talk a little bit and give an update on our staffing. We are up 0.12% on attendance. Our elementary fill rate for positions is 18.4. Our secondary fill rate is -9. Our retention was down -2 overall, but when you look at our teacher retention, it's relatively steady, but it is the highest we have had in 3 years for teaching staff. I want to give a big shout out and welcome to our new staff. We have Caitlin Caputo, who is one of our new secondary SPED educational assistants, Catalina Juarez of our custodial team, Joy Steele from our custodial team, and Liliana Villasmil, custodial team as well. Sometimes it can be hard to get and maintain custodial crew, and we're very happy to be building a strong team. Next, update on students. Our enrollment in elementary is 923 students, in secondary 888. Our total is 1811, and our budgeted goal is 1810. Our attendance year to date in elementary is 96.47, in secondary 96.28. Our district overall is 96.34, and our budgeted goal is 96.3. That is the end of my superintendent's update.
Okay, any questions for Dr. Rosa? Okay, we'll move on to committee business. First up is academic oversight.
Hi. Yeah, would you mind? I think it's the slides are after the superintendent update. Oh, thanks. Okay. Okay, so the Academic Oversight Committee meets regularly. We bring updates to the board at each board meeting. Last year, we settled on a different structure or framework for our updates. So just as a reminder, we anchor these updates in the district improvement plan. Those were the district level goals that this board approved last month. And in each update, we will take one of those district improvement plan goal areas, and we seek to answer 4 questions in that update. What does success look like for this goal area? How well are we doing against our goal, or are we on track? Why is that, whether we're successful or not? And what are we doing in response? So we will provide an update at most board meetings on one of the 4 academic district improvement plan goal areas. Next slide, please. You have it actually. I do now?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. This way? Okay, great. This is tiny. I apologize that you're not really going to be able to read it, but what you see on this slide are our approved district improvement plan goals. In the left column is the goal. In the right column are the performance objectives. Those are what I would think of as sort of formative measures that help us know if we're on track to meet the goal. And we often will report against those performance objectives because they're more timely for us to be able to measure and report on. There's 5 goal areas. The 5th one is,
The fifth one is a financial measure that the Academic Oversight Committee will not report on. That will be covered through the Financial Oversight Committee in its regular reports. We're proposing one change to Goal 4. We're not going to vote on this today, but just wanted to bring it to your attention. So Goal 4 currently relates to having staff performance on T-tests increase in 2 domain areas. There's a proposed revision. We're actually now proposing, that's too far away for me to read, even with my glasses on. Okay, that NYOS teacher scores on domains 2 and 3 of T-tests will grow by 5% from their calibrated formal observation scores from this year to next year. So our performance objective this year is around calibration, and the performance objective for next year will be the increase in performance. The reason for that is because, informed by the work that we're doing around TIA, so teacher incentive allotment, what Dr. Rosa and Paul Jomini shared with the AOC is one of the things that they've identified, and one of the requirements to participate in TIA, is that there's strong calibration or inter-rater reliability, meaning meets expectations from one rater means the same things as it does from another rater. And so where there isn't alignment or calibration, we want to get that tighter, because we want every teacher to have a comparable, consistent experience in that process. So we didn't this year want to incentivize everyone to say, like, well, let's bump up those scores, which could counteract that goal of making sure that there's inter-rater reliability or calibration. So this year the focus is there calibration in the teacher evaluation? We will work in the future to increase those T-test domain areas. And those were selected, I don't want to speak out of turn here, but those are selected because they are instruction and learning environment in domains 2 and 3 are the ones that are most directly affecting student instruction, and there's an interaction between this goal, Goal 4, and our other academic outcomes goals in goals 1, 2, and 3. Yes?
You did such a great job of explaining all of that, but I also want to add that as part of T-tests, you had mentioned, probably based upon things that happened in the early days of TIA, like this idea of like, let's just give everybody phenomenal scores so that everybody can get the TIA. There has to be a correlate and a connectivity between student performance. Yes. So part of that time this year is making sure the calibration between if a teacher receives an outstanding rating for their observations, it also should align to the student performance, right? And that's what our parents want to make sure that we are ensuring. And so part of the requirement of TIA is we've already started where we had a calibration walk, and so elementary, secondary, myself and other appraisers walked through and watched a lesson and talked about, did we score the same, and making sure that there's an alignment to what we're seeing in the academic performance as well.
I'm so glad, thank you very much for redirecting that, because and this connects back to, I think, some of the other practices that I'm excited that you and the principals have started to implement around data days, rather than have a one shot at the end of the year where we look and see, did they learn it and did we teach it? There's opportunity over the course of the year, both through interims, but other opportunities to reflect on data, and then look at our own practice, our teachers' own practices, to say, like, what is it that is in my instruction that is driving this learning, for good or bad, right? And so we don't want to have, it's not fair to tell a whole bunch, to evaluate teachers and say, you're doing an amazing job, and they may be, and then have student performance decline the way that we've seen. That's not fair to teachers because we're not giving them accurate feedback, and it's not fair to our students because they're being told that they're meeting expectations and then they're not. So this is me speaking. This is not me speaking on behalf of the board, but I just wanted to be clear about the fact that this is really important for our community, because our first priority is making sure all of our students are able to graduate and be prepared for a life of choice.
This is for either one of you accountability wizards. So when we're talking about calibration objectives for the first year, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm hearing that it's like the trainers are the ones calibrating. The teachers and the students are kind of holding pat while y'all figure out that all of the evaluators are using the same scores or same metric to set a score. Is that?
The students are learning. This is not about the students. This is about the teachers, right? So I tell my own students, I tell my own kids, my 5th grader and 3rd grader this about the STAR exam even. I said, this is not about you, kiddo. Like this is to see if we taught you well. And that's the same thing with the calibration. It's to see if the evaluators of the teachers are evaluating them accurately and it corresponds with student outcomes.
I think it's also important to consider that there are teachers who have been here for 16 years and have never used T-tests. And so the teachers needed some time to figure out what the system looks like, how to write the lesson plan you need to turn in for T-tests. It was just a new system that a lot of us had to spend some time with.
I think that illustrates last year, keep in mind, was the first year that we had T-tests. So it was just the exposure for everybody. And it's perfect timing that we finally applied and got approved for TIA, and then that calibration is required, because then that assures that the entire administrative team that's observing are doing it with fidelity, and you're on the same page, and then the correlate with student performance. And it does take time.
And one of the things in particular that's hard I'm sharing this from my professional life, but one of the things that's hard when we start implementing these practices is that we have to become comfortable with people coming into our classrooms and observing, and then that is a sense of vulnerability that not everybody is used to. But in order for us to know if we're calibrated, we have to have more frequent at-bats and opportunities to see instruction in practice.
As an anecdote, I had one formal observation before the current administration in like 16 years. So like this is something really to get used to for some people.
So am I hearing that what community members have voiced as micromanagement, this is my view, and oh my God, everybody's watching me and doing stuff, this is part of being able to follow through with this plan?
I think the short answer to that is yes. And I also think that it really is instructional best practice to make sure that your instructional leaders are in classrooms most of the time.
I don't want to negate anyone's feelings of anyone who spoke tonight, because however they feel is 100% accurate for them. But Sarah's example, so I'm not negating the realities, but Sarah's example is a great example, and I think it's not unique to NYOS. I think you can see systems, and so for somebody to say, I've been here double digits, and this is my first observation, I think NYOS adopted T-tests very beautifully last year. And so I predict as we start collecting for TIA, there will be more and more conversations. And our calibration we did first semester was really great, because not only was it making sure we were aligned, but the conversation afterward with the teacher. So let's say in that past, that one observation had been like, you're great, you're doing great. And maybe that's not what we saw in the calibration. That in-depth conversation and using the T-test tool, because it's not my opinion, it's what we observed in that snapshot of time, and giving the teacher real actionable steps that they can take to get them up to the level that they want to be and we want them to be.
And I think we can't, I don't know like what the feeling was with some people. I know from my own personal experience, I've always felt like comfortable. I also had a co-teacher for 3 years, so like I'm used to people being in the room with me. Or I taught special education where I had other teachers in the room. But I'm wondering if maybe that's not the case for some people. And so I don't want to say like, well, because I had a great time, everyone had a great time. But I think it's important to remember when we think about observations is that we expect our students to feel comfortable getting feedback that sometimes feels uncomfortable to them. And so as educators, I think generally people, while there is pride, there's an understanding that this is ultimately going to make me a better educator.
So then, where's the disconnect between the perception of, oh my God, I'm being micromanaged and watched, versus the, hey, this is the overall objective to achieve the objective, here are the new things that we're implementing?
Well, in any system, if you have not been observed and be given really concrete feedback based upon a tool that was created outside of yourself, and there wasn't collaboration or calibration, you could see how a lot of the steps forward could feel uncomfortable, both people being in your room more frequently, people giving you feedback, formal and informal observations. That can all feel very uncomfortable in any system if that hasn't been in place before.
I just want to say anecdotally, I've had a similar experience to Sarah. I've been observed more than once in 6 years, but my experience with observations is they're usually coming from administrators who are typically assistant principals. And in my understanding of their situation is they often aren't able to attend observations that they schedule with me because they are so overwhelmed by other administrative duties. So I want us to pay attention to that because, this is money on the line for teachers, and if observations aren't done in the right way, that could potentially have a negative impact on teachers. But if we're asking, putting too much work on our administrators to fulfill this task that is so important for teachers, we're doing damage to the whole system, and I think this might be an opportunity for us to reassess the roles and responsibilities of our administrators, at least in the secondary, and ask ourselves maybe we need to hire more people or divert these responsibilities to others so they can more effectively observe us and help us, get the scores that we want. So yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you for that.
Other questions about this? I have one more slide. Okay. Don't stop. Okay. So this is the last slide's just what you can expect from the AOC this year. So this is subject to change, but this is our plan that in December, which is our next board meeting, we'll talk through interim STAR data for elementary. So that's for goals 1 and 2. So that's ELA and math. In January, we'll do the same for secondary. So other interim assessment data that we have. In February, we'll talk about goal 4, which is the goal that we were just talking about. So discuss results of calibration exercises and the potential impact this year. Goal 3, which is CCMR, we'll share the results from 24-25. Paul's not here to check me, but I'm pretty sure that's right because it lags. There's a lagging year. Okay. And then again, we'll come back in April and talk about new interim assessment data. There's a chance that could be pushed to May, depending on when the data comes in and when Paul has time to crunch all the numbers. And at the end of the year, we'll do a summative report out on goals 1 through 4.
I just wanted to ask a question for AOC. When we all went to we had the day-long board training, and one of the tips we got was to make sure that we're having a really good getting to accountability with as many meetings as possible, right? And I'm reading this, I'll study it. Does this align with us getting updates on how we're doing? I don't understand a lot of the different metrics, right? I have the DIP goals, but those are going to happen later. I have this report, but it looks like it's going to come later. So based on what we were learning from the training, are we going to get some of that too, or is that already in this?
That's
fix my head.
I don't want to say that there isn't room for improvement here, but the updates that we have here are the interim data. I don't mean interim in terms of assessment, but the formative data that we have along the way that tells us if we're on track towards those DIP goals. So we won't get an answer on the DIP goals until June at the earliest, but we'll know as early as next board meeting where we are on goal 1 and 2 so far. Okay.
Because I know you're not asking for this, but what the board does not want to do is make the school administer more assessments, just so we have data to look at.
I do think it's really important, though, that we give teachers data so they have the opportunity to respond to what's happening in their classrooms and their students. So I think it's essential that we have that incremental piece, however that comes out.
Right.
Well, and I mean, again, I don't want to, the teachers have a lot more data than this, right? Like, they're getting data on a daily basis from their other, so like, this is, we're like, this is old news to them by the time we see it. But I do think it's important for them to know that we're seeing it, so that they know that we have some skin in the game when we come here and we talk about student outcomes.
Okay, so Jess, we will vote on, not tonight, but next board meeting?
The change to, we have to vote on the change to the DIP goal. Yeah.
Number 4.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, if there's no other questions, we'll move on to Financial Oversight Committee, if I can get the clicker. The first item is discuss and vote the 25-26 budget amendment.
So I think for financial oversight, Hassan, I don't know if you're going to give an overview of the one-pager that we went over in FOC, or you just want the board members to review it in the file?
What we should do is take a look at the budget. I know it's not in the slide deck, but there's an actual budget PDF, and we should review that, and then we can do the one-pager with the financial data. So if you can pull that up, it's the, I forgot what it's called. But I think it says budget amendment, yeah. 10B1. And I take it we don't have Dayan or somebody to talk to that. I'll be happy to cover it, or. She's online. Okay, so I'll let her talk to it. And for those of you who don't know, Dayan is basically our controller that's doing
Dan,
all the bookkeeping for us.
Can you hear us?
Dayan, can you hear us? Well, that makes it difficult for us.
Well, we'll cheat and I'll cover the highlights, but if we can put up that budget amendment 10B1.
I think the
That's the
control desk in the
PDF.
back is pulling it up.
Cool. If not, everybody can look at my no.
Well, we all have it in our board packet.
It is in the board
Yeah, I was
packet.
just thinking for those folks out there that can't see it.
Mhm. I think they're working on it, but Hassan, go ahead. I guess.
Yeah, so basically, the key changes that are affecting this budget are, ooh, I get theme music, thank you. Or am I being ushered off? I figured the latter. The key things that are in this budget that we have to approve are, one, the mandated extra pay for teachers, and then we gave an optional raise for non-teaching staff that weren't covered by the legislative update. So that increased our expenses significantly, but on the upside, we did get additional revenue from the state, and the net of it is, if you look at the difference, that there's about $300,000 surplus beyond what was budgeted based on the increased revenue, even though the expenses went up. So instead of our projected surplus of $2,000, $1,700 based on the initial budget, now it's looking more like $324,000. So that's a great thing, especially when last year we ran a deficit, the year before we ran a deficit. So this is definitely what we want to see. Any questions on the budget, which we seem to not be able to pull up? Okay.
Can you hear
but-
me?
Yes, we can now. Anything you wanted to add, Dan?
Awesome. Okay, I'm not sure where you were, but what we're doing tonight is bringing the amended budget to you. When you approved the budget back in June, There's, a lot of unknowns, especially with enrollment, because you're doing it before school starts. And then also this past year with the legislative session, there were quite a few unknowns on the revenue side and the expense side as well. So it's every year there's a legislative session. There's a lot of unknowns for June 30th year ends. And so oftentimes we have to come back and amend the budget. So we have updated this budget to reflect current enrollment. So the enrollment on the approved budget was 1,876, and we've revised that for the amended budget to 1,810 to reflect the current enrollment. And then also, the state has finalized the per ADA funding back in June. There were still a lot of unknowns in what that would look like. And so we've updated that with the most recent summary of finance. So the per ADA amount went from 10,481 to 11,744. So that is almost a $1.5 million increase in revenue. And so you're going to see that adjustment on the revenue line. We also have amended the expenditures for the compensation because, in this last legislative session, there was a big law passed to compensate teachers and other staff. And so in July, you guys approved the compensation. And so all we're doing tonight is amending the budget to reflect those changes in compensation. So as a board, you're required to adopt a budget at the function level. And you're also, any amendments between functions have to be approved by the board as well. So that's why you have a document there at the function level showing you those amendments.
And can we pull up that PDF, or are we not able? Because you pulled up Deanne there. Oh, it's in the board drive. Yeah, it's in the board drive, and it's called 10B1 FY26 Budget Amendment. While they're doing that, I certainly would motion that we adopt this budget, please.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? That is a unanimous vote. Thank you for passing.
And by the way, this budget has been posted as of Thursday, so it's on our website, so we're not covering anything that isn't already publicly available. There you go. So this is the summarized version, and if you scroll down, we actually have a compare before and after. There you go. So that's the detailed, and then way on the bottom is what Dan was saying, that the board actually has to approve, which is by the object code, and you can see that payroll is the biggest chunk, and then contracted services, most all of that going to the instruction is the key difference there.
Thanks, Hassan.
I'm going to talk about fundraising as part of FOC too.
Okay, we have on the agenda audit progress update.
Yeah, so Dan, can you speak to that one? I know there's still some things going on. We thought we would have the audit to, go over and approve today, but it's going to be in the December meeting, right?
Yes, there's been a delay in the guidance for a single audit. And so NYOS, because of the amount of federal funds they receive, they're required to have a single audit, which is kind of like an extra audit on top of a normal audit. And the guidance from the federal government, every year they provide the guidance to the auditors, to say this is what you need to look for when you're doing your single audit. That guidance has been delayed. And so the auditors can't officially issue an opinion until that guidance is released. So it was already delayed a little bit, and I'm not quite sure why, but with the shutdown of the government, it's probably going to further delay that. So TEA, I think last week, issued an announcement that all audits would be, the due date for all audits would be pushed to February 28th. The state also has a new audit data system that they're putting in place this year, and I think there have been some delays with that as well. So I think that's another reason. I mean, the OMB guidance and then the new audit system for the state, kind of the combination of those prompted TEA to push the deadline back. However, we are finished with our audit, and barring any kind of major change in guidance, which the auditors are not expecting, we should be, ready for you guys to approve and move on. So hopefully December 2nd, even if they're not able to, we can go ahead and present the audit report and then have the board come back and officially approve it once all the guidance has been issued.
So usually we have to approve it because it has to be submitted, but since they pushed the submit date, we're definitely good to not vote on it yet. All right, and then we're going to just take a quick look on the FOC dashboard. If you can pull up the FOC data. It's another PDF.
Thank you, Dan. Do we still need Dan?
No, not unless somebody has a hard question on this, which you can read. Perfect. So we covered the top part, which is basically the attendance, as well as the enrollment. The one thing that is nice to see that jumped out to me was the wait list. After having decline in the wait list due to various things, including auditing it and making sure we don't have people that have, that are no longer interested. So basically the wait list is up 10%, 60 people from August to September. Days cash on hand from June to September is down a little bit, but still way ahead of our required days on hand. The required days on hand is 60 days per our policy. Some of our loan agreements are 45 days, so we're well ahead of that. Still a little short of eventually would like to be at 100 days, which would be, best of breed type of numbers. But generally at the beginning of the year, you're down because you're buying a bunch of equipment, you're spending money before you have the revenue come in. And then same thing with cash. Cash is down because you're having expenditures at the beginning of the year. And nobody can see it on stage because now it's way on the bottom behind Sarah. Yeah, ducking isn't going to help. There you go. All right. And then we also have the activity on the budget. And the key thing that we always look at is where are we in terms of percent of budget to date? This one's actually wrong, should be 25%. So we're a quarter in the year. So we're a little bit behind on revenue because we usually collect after attendance. So that's always a little late. We're a little bit ahead of depreciation, but everything else overall is pretty much in track of where we should be at this time of year. And then the one thing that doesn't look so good right now is our debt service coverage ratio. As was said earlier, we're aiming for 1.5, right? 1.1 is kind of the minimum that we need to have to be able to borrow, refinance debt, etc. But again, at the beginning of the year, we don't have as much cash coming in. We have more expenses. That's not looking so good. I think based on the budget, we're looking at about 1.4 at the end of the year is the projection. So definitely much better than what it was last year.
Any questions for Hassan? Okay, I think we can move to fundraising committee.
Absolutely. I want to appreciate the people who are wrangling the slides up there in the technology booth. In just a second, you're going to see a slide for fundraising. But while we're waiting, I want to appreciate all of our members of our board that lead different committees. You just heard from academic oversight and financial oversight. And next, we're going to talk about the fundraising committee. So beyond their traditional roles in supporting the board as a board member. Leading these committees means additional meetings on top of the existing meetings. So I appreciate all the members who are leading and supporting these committees. What we would like to share tonight is where we are in some of our fundraising events. I personally feel so proud of bingo because we didn't know how it was going to go, and it was very successful. We were quickly unfolding chairs and tables and things because the crowd was much larger than we anticipated. We didn't do a sign-in sheet, but we had approximately 150 people who participated in bingo in the fall. That will continue on for at least 2 more years. We want to give a 3-year run for a big fundraiser. We raised $5,213.15 for our initial bingo night, and it was well received. And my husband and father-in-law were with me, and we ended up sitting at a table initially with a young family who had just started at NYOS, and it was really great to spend time with them. And then later, after they left, then we had people from the neighborhood who had heard about bingo night who came and had no connection to bingo. So it was fun. I've already spoken briefly about Dave and Buster's Spirit Night, and so we will be encouraging our staff, and we want to encourage our families to attend. It's that kind of Thanksgiving feel, opportunity to all be together in a space that can contain us all, get a good dinner that you don't have to cook or clean up dishes, and spend time together. So we encourage you to be there on November the 18th. As I mentioned, 20% of all the proceeds of any games or food goes to the NYOS Fund. In December, we have some fundraisers coming up. Giving Tuesday, which is a traditional day for giving, 10 a.m. that goes all day on December 2nd. We have a Barnes & Noble book fair, which we did last year and was really successful. You can do it online if you can't get there, but also coming in person is fantastic. I was part of the gift wrapping book station last year, and it was a lot of fun, and I think we all love books. Popstroke Spirit Day. Popstroke is a new company nearby. They were very excited to partner with us, and so that's mid-December. We're excited. We'll be sending out more flyers and information. Above, you can see all of our revenue sources, and we're receiving funds for the NYOS Fund from various places. Corporate donations are for companies in the area, fundraising that we bring in from events. We have board giving. 100% of our senior staff are recurring givers. We have parents who give one-time and ongoing donations, and we have major gifts that are given to us. At this point in the year, we have received $21,378.24. I keep an active monitor on all funds, including the NYOS funds, ensuring that we're spending those funds on things that are going to directly impact our students in the classrooms that serve them. We take that funding, all of the funding we receive is public funding, but funding that comes from our community and our parents, we take really seriously. My staff can tell you I ask almost at least once weekly to monitor those NYOS funds and making sure they're spent well. And I'm excited to continue to share that info with you guys. Any questions about fundraising?
Okay, next we have our governance committee. Ben, do you want to briefly go over our meeting this month?
Yeah, well, we met and we talked a little bit about governance committee as far as one of its charges is making sure that we have board members. We need to make sure that we not only have board members and we're fully fleshed out right now, but anybody could go start playing for the Spurs at any minute, and we need to fill that spot when they go off. Succession is the point I'm trying to make. So we have that. We also went over those 2 policies, but we already voted on those. But the governance committee had decided to support the model policies that were put forward. And also we will, one of the governance committee's charges is to do the superintendent review. And so we are in that process. We already voted on those criteria. Dr. Rosas has submitted some updates to that. And the committee is right now at this time taking a look at that this week. And we're going to provide some feedback to Dr. Rosas, and then Nina and I will meet with Dr. Rosas in November to go over that. And any updates that come out of that meeting will be provided at the next board meeting.
Great. Any questions for Ben? Let's see, on the agenda though, you'll see the 25-26 Annual Board Governance Forum. So this was put on here for a heads up for the board that Jackie will be sending us a TEA governance reporting form. She'll reach out to each of us individually via email and get our e-signatures verifying our information. And that is due December 1st, so keep a lookout for that. I also want to thank all board members for taking part in our recent board training last week. We had full participation, which speaks to this board's commitment to strong governance and continuous learning and service of our students in our community. Also, as mentioned previously, Giving Tuesday is coming up, and I'm asking for full board participation in giving to our school. Giving Tuesday is actually our next board meeting, I think, December 2nd. Okay. The school board will meet in executive session in accordance with Texas Government Code Section 551.071 regarding consultation with our attorney. We are going to executive session at 8:49 p.m. Okay, the board has come back from executive session at 9:24 p.m. We will return back to item 6B, as previously discussed, the resolution for compliance with the Texas Education Code, prohibition on DEI duties, and then the certain instructional requirements and prohibitions. The board has made it clear earlier in this meeting that how we feel about this resolution, and the state is requiring that we certify these two policies. Reminder that the board has already passed these policies in a prior board meeting. Do I have a motion to accept the resolution as presented? Allie, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ben? Okay, all in favor? Okay, all opposed? Okay, Mark and Richard. Okay, motion passes. Next is agenda items for our December 2nd meeting, which right now have HB3 goals, DIP goal number 4, right, to change that one, and then, will we have an audit report? I mean, okay. Audit update or whatever, okay.
If nothing else, we may have an update, but we should say a goal.
Okay.
Just in case. We can always just make it.
We can take it off, okay. Okay. Is there anything else y'all have? Okay. Anything else you want added to the agenda, let me know. As right now, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Jessica and Richard, all in favor? That is a unanimous vote. We will be adjourned at 9:26 p.m.